Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today we got some bad news about Shannon Harris. Now, the bad news is that he has officially taken a job at TSU University, or TSU I should say, just Tennessee State University. Now, we made a video a couple weeks ago where it seemed like there was a chance he would stay. Doesn't look like that's the case now, because he has taken that job. I know there is, he could come back, blah, 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 he could do it in the offseason. I doubt it. The reason is because of the job he took. So let's get right into this, as well as talk about the possibility of certain coaches actually staying because of who has been hired. So the news was officially confirmed. Right, Larson reported it. Jake Russell did talk about it when he actually officially talked to Reggie Barlow and all that. And he is there. Now, he is not just the QB coach like he normally is. He is also the offensive coordinator. So he is upgrading from being, just a position coach, which he was heading into this past season before Reggie left, to now being an OC quarterbacks coach. The reason is because we do know that Fred Keiss did officially decline the job to go there as the offensive coordinator. So, Shannon Harris is getting that job now. For him, he views it as a better job, or again, who knows? UFL is so random. Who knows? Maybe he just shows up next year out of nowhere and says, yeah, I'm just, taking my few-month break from TSU, which would be insanely funny if that happened and cool for the league, but let's be honest, it's probably not going to happen. So, the team is going to be looking for another head coach. They're going to be looking for their third head coach in 3 years. Well, there's a couple of things that could happen. So let's get right on into that while looking at Fred Keiss himself. Now, Fred was originally supposed to be the head coach of this team. We all, including James Larson and other guys, speculated it was going to be Greg Williams initially when Reggie Barlow left. Instead, it was actually supposed to be Fred. He was offered the job and declined it and was the one who recommended Shannon Harris getting the job. And that's what led to Shannon Harris becoming the head coach of the team instead of him. Now, what ended up happening during the season is Greg would leave, and his son Blake would end up taking over as the defensive coordinator for the team. And this is a name that's going to be important in a couple minutes. So, Fred could easily become the head coach of this team. The fact is that he has said that he has not fully decided. He basically said, he came out and said publicly, he's either going to return to the Defenders or he's going to retire. That's what he said. Now, again, people can change, you don't know for sure, but that's what he said was he's either going to return to the team or he's going to retire. So there is a good chance that he could come back and be the head coach. He is one of the guys that easily could become that. But he's not the only one that technically could. Because yes, this team did just win a championship game. The offense was incredibly, won assistant coach of the year. But there are a couple other names that are important to note. So this is a picture that I showed a second ago with the coaching staff of the team, right? Reggie Barlow, Shannon Harris, Greg Williams, Jared Krause, Cedric Thornton, a bunch of other guys. It's important to note that, yes, this could change. At the moment, July 17th, when I'm recording this video, a couple of these names were not from the Defenders staff. And a couple of his Defenders staff guys have left, but a couple of them haven't. Deion Harris, he was on the Defenders coaching staff. But notice there's no Blake Williams here. Blake Williams was the defensive line coach. They have a defensive line coach at the moment in Deion Harris, who was the linebackers coach of the Defenders. Blake might stay. You never know. That is a possibility. He could be. It's not a guarantee, but that is a name that's important to look at. Because Blake Williams, of course, took over as the DC, was able to keep the defense. While they weren't incredible in the playoffs, they did have a couple of really solid games. So, you never know. He could come back and try to improve that defense. And so you have somebody who could either become a position coach in TSU or could be the defensive coordinator on the defending championship DC Defenders. That's a big name right there. Now, another one is Vernon Dean. He was the defensive backs coach. Now, they do have a safeties coach and a cornerbacks coach listed, so it is possible he could join this one, sometime in the recent future. But at the moment, he has not joined. He could be staying under Blake Williams. So that's one coach right there. Because, again, not every coach has left. Brian Braswell, the O-line coach, at the moment, he is still part of the DC Defenders. He has not left to TSU. So you have a couple of these coaches that were on DC that haven't actually left. Because, again, it was initially reported that every single staff member was going to leave. That was what Reggie said. He said the entire staff was going to go with him. So far, you got Deion Harris. He did. He left. Braswell so far hasn't. Fred Keiss hasn't. Vernon Dean hasn't. Now David Johnson hasn't. That's another thing. The quality control offense, basically all the offensive guys at the moment, of all state, Andre Simmons, so far hasn't left. Because again, they have a wide receivers coach right now, Nick Andrews. It is entirely possible that the offensive staff might stay with Fred, minus Shannon Harris, who is getting a standing upgrade. Because let's just play a couple scenarios in our heads, right? If you're Blake Williams, you might get offered the head coaching job, right? Fred might turn down that and he just says he wants to be the OC. Then next in line would probably be Blake Williams. Blake Williams becomes the head coach. That means that if you are the only guy that was part of this coordinator group or group before in Vernon Dean, you might be upgraded to the defensive coordinator position, which means you get an upgraded position. So Blake Williams then becomes head coach. You get a new defense coordinator in Vernon Dean, and then you get, your other new guys, right? Or we play it the other way, which is if Fred becomes head coach. If Fred becomes head coach, that means that, Blake Williams will become the official defensive coordinator, and of course the other guy will stay. And the rest of the offensive staff themselves would be bumped up. You'd have one of those guys end up getting bumped up to being the OC, unless Fred were to be both head coach and OC, but I wouldn't be super shocked about it. So you could have that happen. Because again, remember, this is a pretty, locked in group of guys right here. And it was initially thought that everybody was supposed to go. So it is possible that some of these positional guys end up returning to DC. Again, DC is, look, this isn't like, I hate to, just throw a stray at them. But this isn't, Houston. This isn't Memphis. This isn't a city that isn't embracing their team. DC, Michigan, and St. Louis are the big three when it comes to embracing their team. Birmingham will be that fourth spot. And San Antonio, the big three are those three, right? St. Louis, Michigan, and DC. This is one of those three teams. This coaching staff is being embraced. They had that great parade. It is clear that that place has embraced that team to a point that the other markets really haven't. So if you're one of these guys, why not? Why not come back? You're defending champs. It is possible that either way, some people are going to move up. If one of these guys is named head coach, whether that be Fred or Blake, if they get named head coach, it upgrades everybody else that stays in that position to an extent. Now, a couple of guys, especially the offensive side, one of them would end up staying as that, either a quality control offensive coach or an offensive line coach. True. But barring that they go to TSU, which, again, it could happen, this could change. This is at the moment. You have a staff that is fully filled out. You have a running back coach, which is still to be determined, so there's a couple guys that could end up being that one. But at the moment, it looks like multiple guys in DC are planning to return. Shannon did leave. He took his head coach, got the championship, and left. And yes, it's kind of a somewhat of a dick move that Fred offered you the head coaching job, and then you left anyway. But again, it is possible that Fred said, hey, if you want to go, you should go because I'm not going to go. I'm going to stay here. And again, it is possible he just becomes the head coach next year. We don't know. There's still time for him to determine if he's going to retire or not, but it's a big deal. And so that pretty much does it for this whole thing. Again, we'll have an update video whenever a person gets hired, though if it happens in like a week and a half or I'm not home, I'll have a community post on it, you can do it. But overall, I think that pretty much does it for this one. It'll be very interesting to see who ends up becoming the head coach of this team. I very strongly feel it's going to be someone, either Blake or Fred. If you're Blake and you can go from being a D-line coach to being a head coach in less than a year, you're going to take that. Like, there is no world where I see that if you're Blake, that you can consciously say, I would be better off becoming a lower-end positional coach at TSU rather than becoming potentially the head coach here. Because it is also possible that Fred becomes a head coach for 2026, retires, and then Blake is next in line to become head coach. And to where, yes, you have 4 different coaches back to back to back to back, but they were all part of the original same system and team, to where it's not really 4 new head coaches, if you know what I mean. Like, it's 4 new head coaches by name, but they all were part of the original UFL Defenders team. So if that happens, so what? That would be good for them. But let me know what you think down below about this whole thing. This is a pretty random situation to have for it being confirmed. It is a shame that Shannon is leaving. But again, we never know what's going to happen in the future. Do you think that it is possible that we could see multiple of these Defenders coaching staff guys stay? Will we see some other changes? Let me know down below. And as always, guys, think about becoming a community member, subscribe to the channel, and have a great night.